we've got 7 characters who could replace Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Unless you have been living on a distant planet, growing some space crops like Thanos at the end of Avengers Infinity War, you might have heard there was some news about one Peter Parker and his role moving forward in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The last couple of days have been a wild ride for Marvel and Spider-Man fans as news of the negotiations, or lack thereof, between movie rights holder Sony and Disney, who provides the MCU sandbox Spider-Man's been playing in, has hit the web. And while these negotiations are still ongoing, fans may have to prepare for Spider-Man to get permanently snapped out of the MCU.
Lost again.
Spider-Man was seemingly set up as the successor to the MCU's throne after Tony Stark's demise in Avengers Endgame, priming Parker to be the heart and soul of the sprawling franchise moving forward. But with Spider-Man's MCU attachment being less and less certain, we're sure that Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige is already prepping the backup to his backup plan as to who could take up the mantle as the central character of the MCU. Now, both Tony Stark and Peter Parker had a certain joie de vivre that made them fun to watch on screen, interacting with everyone from more reality-based Earth heroes to aliens from across the cosmos. And we feel that any successor character is going to have an equal amount of charisma and charm that will elevate them to fan favorite status. So, who could it be? Well, we think there are 7 characters who could conceivably replace Spider-Man in the MCU. Starting at number 7, Shuri! The Princess of Wakanda earned a spot in all of our hearts from the moment she asked her brother T'Challa the most important question of all: what are those?
What are those?
Yeah, exactly what I said. Shuri would be an easy fit into a Stark-like role. She's already an accomplished scientist and engineer using her homeland's natural vibranium deposit to create Black Panther's ultra-high-tech suits. Plus, she's young, driven, and she's already well-liked by MCU fans. But more important than all of that, if she becomes a full-fledged member of the Avengers, we get to see her tease her brother more.
When you said you would take me to California for the first time, I thought you meant Coachella.
Phasing in at number 6, since Marvel is now in control of the mutants again, we would be extremely remiss if we didn't include any X-Men on the list. And who better than everyone's favorite phasing mutant, Kitty Pryde. Also known as Shadowcat and Ariel and Sprite, and technically Star-Lord, they were engaged in the comics. Kitty Pryde has the ability to phase her body through solid matter and was one of the youngest mutants to join the X-Men at the age of 13. Her high intelligence and childlike wonder became a foil for some of the more gruffer characters. Wolverine. And we could see some of that awe transferring over to her big screen counterpart. We will be honest, while it may be some time until we see mutants on the big screen, what better way to introduce a new audience to them? And we do know that former longtime Marvel writer Brian Bendis was working on a solo Kitty Pryde film for Fox before the Disney acquisition. It wouldn't be too hard to dust off that script and give it a polish. Number 5, another way we think Marvel could get around losing their teenage superhero is by replacing him with a bunch of them instead, with the Young Avengers. And guess what? 2 of the Young Avengers have already been introduced or teased out, namely Cassie Lang and Kate Bishop. Cassie Lang, aka Stature, is the shrinking, growing daughter of Ant-Man who got aged up in Avengers Endgame to an age more appropriate for fighting Avengers-level threats. Kate Bishop, aka Hawkeye, is Clint Barton's arrow-slinging protege in the comics, who is reportedly the focus of the upcoming Hawkeye series coming to Disney Plus with Jeremy Renner. Both of these characters were members of the Young Avengers in the comics, and in the movies they have ties to the earlier phases of the MCU, which could help link the established Avengers characters to new faces we haven't seen yet. Because of that, we think either of these 2 Young Avengers could be a good fit to replace the old webhead on the center stage in the MCU. Our fantastic 4th pick probably should be 5th or 6th on our list, but we couldn't help ourselves at the chance because it's Johnny Storm, the Human Torch. You know, because he's part of the Fantastic Four. Get it?
That's what I'm talking about.
We're so smart. 4, Fantastic Four, he's the 4th one. Okay. All joking aside, the Human Torch is on our list because his party-minded, hot-headed attitude would be the perfect foil to any of the more serious characters of the MCU. As we have seen in the comics, Johnny has a lot to learn, and it would be a real joyride to go on that journey with him. Not to mention, Johnny could be the bridge to slowly introduce the Fantastic Four into the MCU family. The only issue we can see is, would they recast Chris Evans again as Johnny? And if so, would that mean potentially seeing two Chris's on screen at the same time? Wait, didn't they already do that?
That is America's ass.
The third person on our list that could possibly replace Spider-Man in the MCU is Tony Stark's actual replacement in the comics, Riri Williams. A relatively new addition to the comics, Riri Williams was introduced not too long ago after Tony Stark fell into a coma after the events of Civil War II and was presumed dead. The 15-year-old Williams, who is an engineering genius on a scholarship to MIT, built her own suit and with the help of Tony Stark's artificial intelligence, fully replaced him as the superhero Ironheart. Her new and fresh perspective on the MCU could be what Marvel needs to fill the gap of the young and plucky replacement for Iron Man.
Dude, don't call us plucky. We don't know what it means.
Flying in at number 2 for Spider-Man's MCU replacement, Richard Rider, aka Nova. In the comics, he possesses the power of flight, strength, speed, and durability, plus his costume just looks cool. He also was chosen to join the Nova Corps after they were wiped out on Xandar. Rider eventually rebuilds the Nova Corps into their former glory. This lands perfectly in the MCU timeline after Thor reveals Thanos decimated Xandar when getting the Power Stone. So, Feige could have already been laying the groundwork to Nova's origin story, and with Spider-Man gone, he can be the perfect replacement as the heart of the new phase of the MCU. This, coupled with the fact that the Russos joked about Richard Rider being in Endgame, gave us a little glimmer of hope that we can see Nova sometime in the future. And coming in at number 1 for who could replace Spidey in the MCU, we think it's none other than Miss Marvel. Of course, not to be confused with Brie Larson's Captain Marvel, Miss Marvel is another fairly recent addition to the comics, but she's already a fan favorite. Her embiggening abilities would be something we have yet to see in the MCU, but we'll probably see more of with the eventual introduction of Mr. Fantastic with the FF. Now, we suspect that Feige might rework her backstory to distance it from her Inhuman origins because of, the Inhumans TV show. Ooh. Plus, she has already been an Avenger in the comics and is starting to creep up in other Marvel properties. But what really sells her for us is her unbridled enthusiasm. She is an absolute fangirl for Captain Marvel, and just seeing her gush over her idol like Spidey did for Iron Man would be perfect. All in all, the MCU may not replace Spider-Man at all. Negotiations could still work out between Marvel and Sony, but in case they don't, any of these characters could easily slide in. But what do you folks think? Do you think Spider-Man will be out of the MCU for good? Who do you think would be a good fit to replace him, so to speak? And is the silver lining to all of this just that we might now see Tom Holland jump into a lobster tank with Tom Hardy? Let's discuss. Thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, why not give us a like and subscribe? If you want to get notified every time we go live with a show or drop a new video, feel free to mash that little bell so you can be up to date on all the latest theories, news, and rumors in the pop culture world.